When the community believed again that the library could remain open, they became radical about saving it.
Ordinarily, I'm very much against this idea of doing something which feels so illegitimate, taking over somebody else's property.
Just because somebody signs a piece of paper, it doesn't mean the end of your fight.
It almost feels like when you go from a legitimate, peaceful environment into sort of going to war.
It was suggested in the paper that they could actually use tear gas. Is that true?
What?
Only if you're very naughty.
Had over 12,000 books donated and 4 months.
Everyone's like, Barnet, where's that country land? We get tractors coming down the road and that's how exciting things. If they can do it here, then they can do it anywhere.
Here you've got the old ward of Margaret Thatcher.
I certainly was very upset when I heard squatters had come in. I thought, oh my God, we've got people in the library. What are they going to do to it? This is our library. What are you guys doing in here?
Things are starting to change and it's going to get to a point where people will think, well, hold on, when did this all happen? It's going to get that bad.
Barnet is one of the richest boroughs in the country. It's also got some of the worst deprivation in London. You've got estates like Graham Park.
It turns out that about 70% of the population has no influence whatsoever on policy. And naturally, that's the 70% that's skewed towards poorer, more marginalized, and so on. As you go up the wealth and income level, you begin to find more influence on policy. But major influence on policy, in fact, essentially getting what you want, that's concentrated at the very top. Well, what about representative democracy? What that tells you is that it barely exists.
It became clear that what was going on there was a microcosm of what was going on around the country. On the one hand, you had a Tory council experimenting with the largest privatisation scheme England's ever seen, Britain's ever seen, called the One Barnet programme.
What One Barnet is all about is it's taking all the services that councils have traditionally supplied and putting them in the hands of private contractors. And what this does is this removes the democratic control of them. So if there's a problem, you can't go to your councillor because all the sort of things are set by the contract. It'll mean everything is decided on price.
Is as Barnet PLC, as if Barnet was a private company and they're a board of directors.
The company's main concern is to give their shareholders a profit over and above everything.
If they're successful in Barnet, then probably 80 or 90% of Conservative councils are going to follow the model, and experience has shown that where they lead, Lib Dem and Labour councils eventually follow.
Of the whole of the borough of Barnet, 73% of the people didn't want this, and of the people of Free and Barnet, 91% didn't want it. They ignored their own consultation and just went ahead. I don't know what else we could have done. I mean, we really did everything. Talked to the council, put in the petitions, we tried to reason with them. They'd shut the library, they'd rendered us powerless, they'd ignored everything that we'd done. Yes, it was frustrating, but you have this sense of impotence. You have this sense of this is so unjust, this is so unfair.
I think that this story is about a library, but deeper than that, it's a story about people trying to reclaim their public space, reclaim a place where they can come together and discuss and get to know other people in their community. But this is across the board, whether it be a hospital, whether it be a community centre, whether it be a youth centre. These are all significant spaces that are being shut down under the government's austerity programme. And if the community they're in feels that it's wrong, it's essentially undemocratic to go down and close it just because you've got the power of the council at that time.
If people are isolated, separated from one another, atomized, focus only on their own affairs, that's a perfect situation for domination and control by centralized authority. If people have public spaces where they interact, where they meet, where they learn, libraries are perfect examples, then you have the basis for a democratic system. Libraries have extra advantages. It's where you can become educated.
It is this library which helped me to settle myself with the children. Working in the library helped, for example, my daughter, who is now in the third year of criminology, and my son is studying film and psychology. I came from Rwanda. That was a traditional song about Rwanda, who told the qualities a warrior must have. It is hard, of course, as a single parent, it is hard to educate 5 children, but I wanted my children to study. This library particularly helped me so much. The songs make me think of the occupiers of this library were a small group which were united together to defend the cause.
The way that the legitimate framework is, the government, the law, it is hurting people who are in an underprivileged situation, but it's also hurting ordinary people like us who are just kind of looking after our community. This library, I mean, it's all we have.
I think communities, we're all so stressed out, also caught up in our own little world just trying to survive, that the community there is no community anymore. I've worked for 10 years, dead-end jobs, and it's just no sense of focus or understanding of really your life. It's just like, well, what am I doing here? Everybody has something that they want to do, but where there's basically no jobs around, there's no money around, so your dreams and that, they're just really far away, and you're completely oblivious to what is actually going on in the world. You work 9 till 5, you watch EastEnders and all the usual crap on TV. You don't see it as it's your problem or anything that you need to deal with.
The main point of direct action is just to break through the atomization and isolation that is imposed by power structures. They work very hard to impose it and develop an organized population which is committed to solidarity, to mutual support, to achieving social needs, to overcoming hierarchy and concentration of power. In short, to create a democratic society.
There are ranges of opinions, understandings, life experiences, disabilities, handicaps, different sorts of people who make up our local, national, global society. And this is a small moment where, because of the courage of a group of people, and I would say that is Occupy, who were prepared to, yes, they broke the law, they opened up something, they made something available. As has happened so often, there would be no women's vote if it wasn't for the fact that a group of people with great courage were prepared to break the law.
Nobody turn me around, gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, marching up to freedom.
What occupying does is it's a problem that isn't foreseeably going to go away.
The Fry and Barnet Library would probably have just been sold off if it hadn't been for the direct action that Occupy have taken against it.
It's tragic and comic at the same time, the fact that as soon as the library doors reopen, all of a sudden the council were coming in to the library, meeting with the locals and discussing different options.
I think it has changed the community. I think it's brought people together.
I come from a privileged background where you're more on the sort of conservative side of things. And I've never been involved in any kind of protests, never been involved in any political sorts of things until we had this library.
Oh, it's been insane. I mean, coming from the occupation to a local level, whether you're coming from a right-wing perspective, a left-wing perspective, a centrist perspective, everybody wants to save a library because they feel in some way that that library is sacred.
It's been an extraordinarily fast, steep movement from that kind of right-wing, you might say, background to come into a situation where I have come to understand what the Occupy movement is about.
We will not be moved. We will not be moved. But we will. But we will. Be respectful. Be respectful.
Ain't gonna let no Tory council turn me around. Oh no. Turn me around.
We will not sit quietly by.
We will not sit quietly by.
And watch our community.
And watch our community.
Local economy and livelihood.
Local economy and livelihood.
Being destroyed.
Being destroyed.
People have now been given a voice and they're not going to shut up, basically. I don't see it as not being part of my life now. More and more people need to realise that they have to take responsibility of what's going on and do something about it.
Right now, occupying a commercial property is not a criminal offence. Anybody around the country can go in, take over their public space that's sitting there left empty, and run it again.
Ain't gonna let no courthouse turn me round. Turn me round. Turn me round. Ain't gonna let no
I've just heard that a hospital in the area may be being occupied, which is really inspiring because I don't know who's organising it.
That thing which is going to be closed, it can be saved if people work together.
From today we're occupying the Clock Tower building here in Chase Farm Hospital because the management are pushing ahead with the closure plans and access to the rest of the hospital and demolish it and build flats as far as we're aware.
I actually feel in the last 4 months the happiest that I've ever felt because you're kind of involved in something that is really important and will make a difference.
The love of something is not only by words. You have to show actions.
The council have decided that they don't need to sell the building anymore, that some money has been found and the building will remain.
And this action, it's not only because it is mine, it is where I live. It is simply that thing is useful for the society.